Hello people, this is Self-Tuts, and in this video we'll be learning about the network setup for virtual machine cluster. So if you're following my series on setting up a cluster of virtual machines, so this is basically the fourth part where we'll be doing the networking kind of thing for our virtual machine. We'll go into the deep that how to set up the network for our virtual machine so that they can easily communicate with each other and they can also communicate with the internet. Our motive here is to have a virtual machine cluster in which each machine can talk to each other and all the machine can also talk to the internet. So we'll be doing that setup. Now let's say you are having a virtual machine, and if the virtual machine is running, then it will have an IP address. So because every system on the network has an IP address, and this IP address is the basically a unique identification for every machine. So if you are running any virtual machine or any physical server, they all have an IP address, and that IP address uniquely identifies that server or that machine. So basically you are having a virtual machine, so it will have an IP. So let's say we will take an example of IPv4, that is 192.168.1.100. So this is the IP address that is assigned when this virtual machine was started. What if the machine starts? So if the machine starts, so this instance will be killed and a new instance will be created. So initially this was the instance of that virtual machine, and now when the machine restarts, so two things can happen. First thing is what? The new virtual machine that we got will have the same IP address which was before. So this IP address is being provided by the DHCP, so that is dynamic one. So either you can get the same IP address or you can get a new IP address. So what happens if the machine restarts? So the IP address can be same depending on your luck, or the IP address can change because we are assigning IPs dynamically to the virtual machine. So if the IP address changes, then it creates problem in your cluster. Connection between the machine will break because they will not know about the new IP address. So what we will do, we'll provide a static IP address to every virtual machine. This static IP address will not change if the machine restarts. So if it is dynamic, then the IP address will change. But if we do something to our virtual machine so that we can fix the IP address such that every time it restarts, then it will take the same IP address. Let's say it was 192.168.1.100. So every time if you restart it for 1000 times also, it will get the same IP address because we have fixed that IP address or we have provided a static one. So we'll do that in this particular tutorial. The network setup that we will be doing is quite tricky and you need to understand it because it will clear your concepts. So this is our host machine. So let's say we are inside Windows or any Mac or any Linux, and suppose I'm taking an example of Windows. So this host machine is what? It is Windows machine. Now there is a virtual box software that is running, so I'll show you that, which we have seen in previous video also. So this is the thing that helps us to run different virtual machines. So in last two videos we have created this work machine and node 1. So this virtual machine creates an interface inside or creates a boundary inside this host machine. We have the work machine, which is a virtual machine. We have node 1 and we have node 2. As we have not created node 2 in the last video, but we'll create in this video. So let's say we are having these three virtual machines inside the virtual box. So this is inside this boundary. It is not directly connecting to the host machine. So the virtual machines are they are encapsulated inside this virtual box layer. Now what happens? This host machine is connected to the internet. So we are having an internet connection through Ethernet or through Wi-Fi. So this will have an internet connection. Now what we'll do, we will create a virtual box with a NAT adapter. So for networking, we will create a NAT adapter. So if I'll show you here on my virtual machine, so let's say I'm seeing the work machine inside settings, and here it is network. So if you see, you can provide maximum four adapters, or these adapters are network interfaces. So I will be explaining all those things, and that can have different values. So these are the different things, that different type of network that you can create. So here what we are saying, that we will take the by default NAT network. So this virtual box will have a NAT interface, and through that NAT interface, the internet is connected to this virtual box layer. So this NAT interface on the virtual box layer will directly connect to the internet this NAT interface is called was ENP0S3. So it has a specific name. So in previous version of Ubuntu, it was called as ETS0, that is Ethernet, and in this one it is in the new versions like 18 or something. I don't exactly remember from when they started to rename it, but in the version 18.04 which we are using, it is called as ENP0S3. So the name of the interface is ENP0S3. The work machine will have its own NAT boundary, which is not important to understand, but let's say it will create its own sub boundary, and that will connect to this NAT, and finally it will be connected to this one. This node 1 will also create a NAT adapter kind of thing which we have selected there, that is NAT boundary for node 1, and that will connect to the NAT boundary of VirtualBox layer. Same way for node 2. So if you want to connect to the internet, then all these three will have a network interface which we saw here, that was inside settings, and this network and this one. So in the last videos, if you have seen that whenever we created a new virtual machine, we have selected this adapter 1 as attached to net. If you see second, third and fourth, these all are not enabled. So what we have done till now is we have created only one adapter, or we have attached only one adapter, that is called as NAT. So this was done in previous video only, that you have to by default select a network adapter, that is NAT. What we'll do, we will create a adapter of NAT network type. So there is something called as NAT and there's something called as NAT network. So we will also create a new network interface in our virtual machine that will be called as NAT network. So if I go to here, you can see there is something called as NAT network. So this is another interface. We don't need to go into the detail that how everything works. You just need to remember that you need to use this NAT network. This NAT network is called as ENP0S8 interface. So this NAT network has a special name in Ubuntu, that is called as ENP0S8, and the node 1 will be connected to this NAT network interface. Work machine will be also connected, and this node 2 will be also connected. For this virtual machine cluster setup, we are doing the assumption that this NAT network is encapsulated inside this VirtualBox boundary. So it is not talking outside this, we are assuming. Okay, so this NAT network will be configured by us so that it can provide a static IP to all these machines, that is work machine, node 1 and node 2. So all these three will be connected to this NAT network, and this NAT network is called as ENP0S8 network interface, and we will modify this interface in all these three machines so that they can have a static IP which will solve the problem of restart and changing IP. So this is the network setup that we'll do. It will have one NAT network which is called as ENP0S3, and each of them will have a ENP0S8 network interface which will provide a static IP to every machine. We will create our own NAT network interface in the VirtualBox. The name of the network interface in Ubuntu is called as ENP0S8, which we have seen. Now, this ENP0S8 helps us to provide a static IP address. So this then will configure a static IP address to each virtual machine. So this is the setting that you need to provide. So we are taking a range of IP address which will be something like 192.168.1, and from 1 to 255 it can take, or 254. So if you want to provide a different range of IP address like 172.16, so for that you need to know about the netmask, the network and the broadcast value, so though they will change. So from this configuration, what you can achieve is you can provide how many computers from since the network starts at 0, so from 1 to 254 or 255, I'm not sure, but up to 254 you can provide. So this particular configuration that we will do in our virtual machine will help you to get IP address from 192.168.1, and then you can have IP address from 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 254. So this will help us to achieve that. Now we'll try to configure this setting. That is what we will try to configure all this type of network architecture in our virtual machine cluster. So for that I need to have this value so that I can remember and I can write. So we'll go to this VirtualBox, and in this VirtualBox, as you can see, we have created this work machine and node 1 in the previous videos. That was video number 2 and 3. For this is basically Ubuntu desktop, and this is Ubuntu server 18.04. Now since we are having two nodes on our machine, so we need to create a new node. So we'll try to clone this machine, and this machine, there is this setting called as clone, so that we can create a new node. So we'll select clone, and here we'll type the name as node 2, and here we need to select the folder where you want to create. So I'll select others, and we'll go to this F drive which we have seen previously. There's cluster setup and there's this node 1. So what we'll do, we'll try to create node 2. So we'll say node 2, and this is our folder that we have created. We'll select it and select the folder. Keep disk names, keep hardware UIDs. Okay, additional options or expert mode. So I'll do next, and this will be full clone, and let the virtual machine clone so that we can have brand new node cluster setup. So this will take around 7 minutes, so you need to wait. So we have new node 2 created here. So now we have 3 machines, that is work machine, node 1 and node 2. So if you go to this network setup again, so first thing that we need to do is what? We need to connect all the 3 virtual machines to this default NAT adapter. So what we'll do, we'll come here into work machine, we'll see the settings and then network, and we can see it is already connected to this. So this is fine. Now we'll come to this node 1 and we'll see the settings. Inside network it is already connected, so that is fine. Now we'll come to this node 2 and settings, and again network. So this is already connected. So the first network setting is done, that is all these 3 machines are connected to this NAT network which will connect to the internet. Now what we need to do is we need to create this NAT network interface for our 3 virtual machines. So basically we'll come to this virtual box, and here we'll say file and then preferences. So inside here there's something called as network, and it is already having a NAT network that is self-tered. So we'll create a new one. So this NAT network will be called as what? Cluster, local cluster. So we'll say it as local cluster NAT. So we need to give a name so that we can select it during our configuration. So it is called as local cluster NAT. This has been created, NAT network, and now we need to connect all these 3 machines to it. So we will come to this work machine settings, and here we'll come to network, and in the adapter true, what we need to do, we need to select NAT network, and here local cluster NAT that we have set. Now for node 1 we'll do the same thing, network adapter enable NAT network and then local cluster, fine. For this node 2 we need to do the same operation, that is enable network, NAT network, local cluster NAT, and okay. Now these 3 machines have been connected to this NAT network, but still we have not solved the problem of dynamic IP address, which means if anytime these 3 machines will restart, then we have to provide a new IP address. Configure this particular setting in our 3 machines. So what we need to do, first we'll start this work machine. So starting of work machine, and we have hit this one. So let's start this one. Then what we need to do, we need to start the node 1. So we'll start this node 1 also, and let's say node 1 starting. So node 1 is starting here, and what we need to do, we need to start node 2. Since I am having a 16 GB of machine, so I can afford to start 2-3 virtual machine at once. So here you can see all the 3 machines have started. So I got a login screen here, and you can see on the right hand side for this machine also there's login screen, and for this also there is login screen. Now first we'll come to this one. So we'll come here self-tests, and we remember the password. So I'll enter the password. We'll open the terminal and we'll change the configuration. So I'll come here, and what I'll do, I'll type terminal so that I can start the terminal. And then what I need to do, I need to edit the interface. So I need to create a new interface. So if you remember this particular slide, what we are doing, we are creating a new interface. So it is calling iface interface, and that is of type static. So that change will be what? That will be done here, sudo vim/etc and then network and then interfaces. So I need to again type the password. Okay, vim command not found. So vim is not present here, so I'll use vi. Let's say vi is present or not. Okay, vi is present /etc. So let me type sudo vi/etc network and then interface. Okay, so this is already present here. I need to add a new interface. For that I will write the code in the descriptions below if you don't remember it or if it is difficult to type. So it is enp0 S8. So this is the interface name, and then what I need to do, I need to type iface enp0s8. so this may take some time. inet static, so the interface name is enp0s8 and it is of type static. Then what I need to do, I need to type the address. So I'll say address will be equal to what, 192.168.1, and then we'll type it here 110. So we'll provide this work machine a IP address of 192.168.1 and 110. So this will be the static IP address. Then you need to provide the net mask. So you can provide any IP address whatever you need. That is not means you can change the IP address if you want. 255.255.255.0. so this is the net mask. If you want to read about this networking configuration, that what is net mask, what is this address, and what is this network, anything, you can go on internet and read about it. So the network will start at 192.168.1.0. so this will be the network start, and if you want to broadcast to every network, so it will be, and then 192.168. so this is the configuration that you need to do. Once you have done the network changes in that file, that is where network interface is, then what you need to do, you need to install the net tools. So what I'll do here, I'll come to this one and I'll type sudo and then apt-get, because it is Ubuntu machine, so the default package manager is apt-get. So sudo apt-get install and then net tools. So net tools will be something like this. So I need to type the password, hit enter, and I think it is already installed. So it may happen that it will not be installed on your machine, so you need to install it. So once this has been done, then what you need to do, you need to type the command if up and the network interface name, that is enp0s8. so this is the network interface that we have provided, right? So you need to type the password. If I go to my if config to see the IP address, you can see here we have one interface as enp0s8. it is having IP address of 192.168.1.110, which we have provided. So we have opened these two network interfaces, and here we have this static IP address. So for this box it is done. Now we'll come to this node 1 on the right hand side, and what we will do, we'll say login. So login is self-turts, so we'll say sudo and then vim etc network and then interfaces. So in this file we need to do the change. So we have come here, and what we need to do, you need to type the interface thing, same thing. So it will be auto enp0s8. so I'm typing it again so that you can understand. So we are defining an interface, and the name of the interface is enp0s8 and inet static. So since we're providing a static IP address, so we'll come here, then we'll type address will be equal to 192.168.1. For this we have provided 110, so here we'll provide 120. So let's keep that one. So address, and then you need to provide the net mask, and the net mask will be what, 255.255.255.0. now we need to provide the network from where the network will start, and that will be 192.168.1.0. so this is the network, and then we need to provide the broadcast. So these are some network related things. I'm not going into the details that what are the meaning of these variables. 192 here, 168.1.255. so if you want to change your IP address from this 192.168.1.120 to some other series range, that is let's say 172.14 or something, then you need to deduce, or you need to find what is the net mask for that, what is the network, and what is the broadcast. But here with this configuration you will get an IP address from 192.168.1 and from 1 to 255. Okay, once this is saved, I'll type if config. So you can see there are only enp0s3 and loopback interface, which is by default present. Now what we need to do, we need to say if up and enp0s8, and let's hit enter. So it is saying that if a command is not found, something like that. So we'll say apt install if up down. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, so it has fetched something and it is trying to install. So this is just a tool that helps us to make the network interface up and down. So I'll say if up enp0s8. So I'll hit enter. It is saying logged file, so I need to type the command sudo, and now if I check, you can see we have another interface and enp0s8. The inet address is 192.168.1.120. so here it is 110, on this box it is 120, on the third one we will set it as 130. so let's do that also. So I'll say self-tuts, and we have entered the password successfully. So we are inside here. So we'll again say vim etc network and then interfaces. So if your virtual machine cluster is having n nodes, so you need to do this particular configuration n times. So again I'll define the network interface enp0s8 inet static, and the IP address is 130. so I'll save this, apt install up down. So sudo apt install and then if up down. Okay, so it will do that. And then what we need to do, we need to check our IP address. So I'll type if config. So we have only two network interfaces. So I'll say if up enp0s8. It is again locked, so I always forget to type sudo. Okay, now if I see if config, you can see we have the network interface as enp0s8 and it is 192.168.1.130. so now we have three machines, and all the three machines have three different static IP address. So one is having 192.168.1.110. the another, this node 1 will be having 120, and this node 2 will be having 130. so this is how we set the static IP address, and we do the network configuration. So what we have achieved is we have set this NAT network interface at enp0s8 and another NAT interface that was at enp0s3. so this will help us to access the internet, and this will help us to provide static IP address so that each node can connect to other one. So the work machine node 1 and node 2 can talk to each other on a static IP address, and if there is a restart of the machine, then the IP address will not change. So this was all about to set up the network interfaces in our virtual machine cluster. So we did two things, that is we set this enp0s3 and enp0s8 in our whole virtual machine cluster. So hope you like this video, hope you like my channel. Please subscribe to these videos and please share these videos with other people. Thank you.